Who do you think you are? I am. It's OGP on a Friday for the last time, taking a look at the Giants season opener down in Tennessee against those Titans. We break down our final predictions, talk about who could be a breakout star, and even take a look at the betting lines and, of course, some same-game parlays from yours truly coming up next. The only thing better, my friends, on a Friday is OGP, the One Giant podcast, where we are your host over here, Adam Armbrecht, breaking down the Brooklyn Nets on the Locked On Nets podcast. My boy, Doug Norrie, and yonder there, it's a season generational ticket holder, the healthy, wealthy, and wise, the man who realizes I finally turned on my proper microphone, Mr. Andrew Makowitz.
I know I'm proud of you. You remembered this time. It feels really good. The sultry tones, Adam. Congratulations for being able to be a professional on the podcast today.
Yes, sir.
Adam,
really, really big show.
Adam, last night, didn't it feel nice? Like, I saw a lot of GIFs and memes, but it's like football's back. It felt like a cozy blanket. It didn't matter if your team was playing. You kind of just nestle up on the couch and you get football for like 3.5, 4 hours. Didn't it just feel good just right off the bat?
Tip of the cup to Marty. You better believe it felt good last night to have the NFL kickoff. Yeah, and by the way, like all the buildup, and then like it's nice just to sit down on the couch, crack a cold one if that's your thing. Maybe you made some wings and just let a game unfold in front of you. Especially, like I will say, I also like it better when it's not the Giants playing on, opening game. Listen, I'd love to be the kickoff. We'd love to be a premier team in the league. Maybe that's coming down the road. But there's no pressure. There's no angst watching the Rams and the Bills kick off the NFL season. Also, no angst for yours truly in terms of that season series that we've been talking about. Put our best out, man. You were a little bullish about those Rams. You got to pay attention for that Super Bowl hangover, my friend.
Listen, I'm glad that we decided not to start to pick them until like Sunday, and that was just like the warm up. The last, so like that was just to get our feet wet. So we were starting to get our predictions. I'm calibrating at them. It's the first game of the season. I did like the Rams. Sean McVay was 5-0 in openers. I thought, hosting the game, they were going to look better. My gosh, though. I mean, the Bills turned the ball over as much as humanly possible in the first half, and they still steamrolled the Rams. Like, it wasn't even close, right?
We'll talk about a little bit later, maybe some fantasy stuff where, like, I took a little low-level flyer on Cook, young running back, just came out, got one touch, one fumble. Okay, you're going to go ahead and take a seat there, young blood. Yeah, it's funny. Like, if you go in and look at these lines and stuff, and you see Josh Allen just slinging a couple of picks, and, it wasn't a perfect game by any stretch from the Buffalo Bills side of things, but the Rams, man, this is why I picked them going into the game, and I just think by the end of the season, we'll be talking about them in the same vein that you would assume you would for a team that just won the championship. However, you got the elbow concerns for Stafford. You've got Robinson trying to work his way into it. Again, like there's so many things. One thing I'll say that's a good theme that maybe carries over to the way the Giants can approach Daniel Jones in this game on Sunday, in every game this season. They highlighted it throughout the broadcast. The Bills, when they put Donaldson in single coverage on the offensive line, those were all the plays when Allen was getting it out of his hands quickly, right? So, like, there are ways to mitigate some bigger risks when you're going up against really strong defenses or individual talents. And I thought that the Bills did a really productive job of that, let alone, I went to talk about the fact they attacked Jalen Ramsey and essentially repeated what could have been a loss in the Super Bowl that, Aaron Donaldson got home against Burrow in the Super Bowl. Didn't get home against Allen in this one.
Well, yeah. So Aaron Donald, to your point,
I know I'm throwing on some extra.
Yeah, just like the best, one of the top 3 defensive players.
The better you are, the more letters you get. That's how I work.
That is how you work sometimes. I realize that, Adam. But I think you are absolutely right, and this is foreshadowing for the Giants because Ken Dorsey, as the offensive coordinator for Buffalo, worked under Brian Daboll. They were, hand in hand. It was a lot of the same scheme that the Giants are going to be putting out there in terms of some of those quick outs, get the ball out quickly. If we are going to match up one-on-one against a great defensive end, and they also roll Josh Allen out away from the pressure a lot to be able to make plays with his legs or open up the field a little bit. So, yeah, to me, the offense was humming. The couple of mistakes, it's like the Buffalo random fumble, the tip off a guy's hand. The rest of the time, the Bills didn't punt. So, like, outside of those things, the Buffalo Bills did not punt. Josh Allen was doing anything he wanted. To your point, Jalen Ramsey, like, what's going on here? Like, perfect quarterback rating against him in the game. 6 receptions out of 7 targets. They beat him over the top. They beat him short back shoulder. They beat him every which way. And it made you think, like, is he like, he's not old yet, even he's in his mid-20s. Like, is he already losing a step? Is this just like chalk it up to everyone having a little rust week 1? Like, I can't believe the Rams looked that bad in all facets of the game.
Yeah, it's funny too, man. Like I thought about this watching Ramsey, and this is like true about the NFL. Like, man, that premier quality top level cornerback play is such a tight window to hit. Like, you want to hit it when it matters most on a big run in the playoffs, right? But like, I know that Jalen Ramsey has been one of the best corners in the game, but I did think about, I thought about it last night of like, yeah, but there's just waves and waves of receivers getting thrown at these dudes, right? Every week, it's a different guy with a different version of skill sets. One's a little bit bigger, one's a little stronger, one's a little shiftier, one's a little faster. And to be one of the premier talents on the outside as a cornerback, it's really hard to be the measurables of length, size, and speed. Because, by the way, usually when you have those combination of measurables, you're not on the defensive side of the ball. You're playing wide out. You're playing a different skill position. So it's so hard to think about that position and investing a lot of money there. I think you need to really be timely with when you go all in on that. It paid off for the Rams. We all know that, right? But wait and watch, right? Because now maybe there's a bit of a blueprint here to start this season off about how to attack the number 1 corner for the Rams.
Well, and it just feels like more and more, and this is a bad omen for Giant fans and Kenny Galladay, that we're going away from the big-bodied wide receiver. It's not like go up and make a play. Yeah, it's how quick can you get out and get explosive and stretch the defense, or how quickly can we run crossing routes? How shifty can we be in small areas? It's why, Isaiah McKenzie and Cooper Kupp and Jamison Crowder's had a career doing this. Stephon Diggs is just a great wide receiver. He's an amazing route runner and still has, pretty good top line speed. So he's a great combination of both. But man, you are seeing the future. And that's why maybe things start to change for Jalen Ramsey a bit. He's a big physical cornerback. So like when you have a Julio Jones or a Kenny Galladay or a big body guy, he's not intimidated by that. The tough part for him is like shiftiness in small spaces is probably not going to be the place where he, has his best games. And it kind of looked like that's how it got exploited, in this Thursday night matchup.
Yeah. So listen, I mean, we know that we're not always going to spend a lot of time on other teams around the league, but I will say, I think unlike years past, there are really good conversations, and a lot of this stuff can tie into what matters for the Giants. These may not be teams that the Giants are going to worry about going toe to toe with early in the season, etc. But there are lessons to be learned, I think, from these games, especially early in the year. And some of it is about coming out sharp, looking crisp, something that the Rams did not do. And really the Bills didn't do either. But at the end of the day, it was a win for them. And as we just, most importantly, a 1-0 series lead in the season predictions. Let's turn our attention, though, over to the Giants here. There's a lot of things that we want to cover. We broke it down from all angles. I thought it was really interesting. Getting on with Roland from the Locked On Titans podcast. We talked about Robert Woods, and I didn't bring this up, so this isn't even me layering onto it, but you talked about what he is as a talent versus what'll be for the Titans. And Tyler Roland brought up a really good point. He's been awesome, Robert Woods, as a number 2. As a number 2, though. And now you're being put in the number 1 spot and then relying, I mentioned about the other members of that roster. You got Burke, obviously the rookie, but you have to wait to see what he's going to come on to do. And then even the second year wide out there is going to be, remember, like he was the 3rd or 4th option last year. Now maybe he's the 2nd option. So there is this hierarchy that's starting to shift. I found it fascinating that he even mentioned Austin Hooper and to kind of be like, I don't know. I said, that Austin Hooper, tight end. Yeah. He's like, I don't know. Like there was a lot of angst around the offensive side of the ball for him. While he still, I think, calls for the Titans to win the game, thinks it could be like within that touchdown kind of area. Anywhere from that 27-21, right? 21-17, right in that kind of pocket there. Just as we go into it and we think about it from that standpoint, where is your instincts here as the Giants look to open things up? Are you excited about what could be a bad weather game, some rain called for down there in Tennessee, and that can certainly shift the way both teams try to attack this game?
Yeah, no, I mean, hearing that the weather's not going to be great, I think us as fans, we think the weather impacts things far more if it's just like a light rain than the players actually do. But again, the Titans want to establish the run, and they stopped the run. They were first in the league in rushing the ball, and they were first in the league in yards per attempt stopping the ball. So like they are yards per game stopping the ball at 83.5 or 6. They are really good when the ball is in the hands of someone and you're not airing it out. They win games in the trenches that way. That is tough for the Giants for a couple reasons. The first problem that I have is the fact that if the Giants find a way to stack the box and stop the run or limit the damage that Derrick Henry can do, the issue is that the Giants have injuries at the edge rushing position where they may not be able to take advantage of those 3rd and 7s, those 3rd and 8s, where the quarterback has to drop back and wait for the play to develop.
Yeah.
If the Giants don't have Kayvon Thibodeaux and Azeez Ojulari out there healthy, going after the quarterback and making life miserable, they're not going to take advantage of the times where they're able to stop Derrick Henry on 1st and 2nd down.
No, 100%. It's I think that's the fascinating part. To your point, you talk to players, they go, weather, what weather? I mean, barring gale force winds, et cetera, that really change the dynamic of a game. If it's wet, it's wet. I don't think anyone's going to sit there and make excuses about it. But from that side of it, the defensive side of things, it's going to be interesting to see how Wink Martindale tries to approach it. We talked about a lot of those angles there. Maybe Azeez is able to get out there on the field potentially, but otherwise, I think you try to get thick. And we talked about it the other day, right? Use Ward in this situation. Even Oceanic Jimenez, I think, is like a stronger player as opposed to, say, a Carter Coughlin. Interesting to see how Micah McFadden fits into it, and even Tay Crowder and the versatility they go with there. I won't be shocked if Quincy Roche is up there for this game as well. Again, more beef, and just try to congest and jam up everything at the line of scrimmage. And if it's going to be a game where there is some rain going on here, I'll live with Ryan. Again, who do I want to beat me? Anyone but Derrick Henry, right? I can't turn around. He went for 170 against the Giants in recent memory, right? Like, as long as he isn't doing that, I'll live with the results of it, and I'll live with what I think could be the upside of getting that ball out of Tannehill's hands and maybe some opportunities for some turnovers. We highlighted over this course this week. Remember, 21 touchdowns, 14 picks last year for Tannehill, the back half of that season without Derrick Henry. The more pressure that he is put under to be the one that wins the game is the more likely that he can lose.
It's true. I mean, Tannehill is going to be the wild card in this because he has been the wild card. It's why they drafted Malik Willis. It's why they drafted Malik Willis to begin with as the backup, because they think he has more upside than Tannehill. They kind of know where they are at with Ryan Tannehill as their quarterback. And I think even though they were the number 1 seed, no one really gave them a shot to win the Super Bowl. So Tannehill is going to be important in this. And that's why the offensive side of the ball for the Titans is really going to be the indicator. I think the Giants are going to be able to move the ball a little bit against the Titans defense. I really do with this new scheme. No one's seen Daniel Jones in this position or Saquon Barkley where they actually have, a competent quarterback coach and offensive coordinator guiding the ship here. So for me, it's really, if we don't have the edge rushers that can create in one-on-one, what is our secondary going to look like against Tannehill, and who's going to win that matchup?
Yeah, again, I'm going to rely on Xavier McKinney. I'm going to rely on Julian Love. I'm going to trust Adoree Jackson, obviously. We talked about it. I'm a little more confident in Adoree Jackson. And in this particular game, I'm a little more confident in the secondary to hold their own. Darnay Holmes, again, he's my low-level pick to say, like, all of a sudden, cut to, here's a guy that's making a big play, maybe out of nowhere, because if you're listing the hierarchy of guys from a Tennessee perspective, you're probably saying Xavier McKinney, you're saying Adoree Jackson, then I don't know where Julian Love stacks up in that hierarchy, but then you're going down to the defensive front for sure, and Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence, right? Darnay Holmes is going to be the 4th, 5th, 6th most concerning element to this Giants defense. I hope that he builds off of what we have seen from him in training camp and in preseason that suggests he can really be a big piece of it. As we turn our attention over to the offensive side for the Giants, let's also just take a minute here, Andy, and set up the betting line here. Where's the over-under? And I think, what do we have? I have +7.5 currently going by BetMGM, but you're also over on FanDuel. Where are we starting out here on what is a Friday morning? Could still move before game time.
Wow. 7.5. I haven't seen that line, but welcome back to the betting corner. This is my favorite part of it, Adam.
Ooh.
Like to put
Is that a new segment we didn't realize we were doing?
I don't know, but it feels good. It's like, we talked about that warm blanket. It's like a warm glass of milk for me. So right now on
you're just gonna be asleep on the podcast. Warm blankets, warm glasses of milk, a couple of cookies, and this guy's night.
Earlier in the week, Marty was asking if you needed a cup of coffee. He clearly understands there's only one person that gets tired and falls asleep on the show. That would be one Adam Armbrecht, not Andy Makowitz. But in terms of FanDuel, right now the line is the Tennessee Titans are favored by 5.5, and the over/under is 43.5.
Sorry, I had alternate handicap was at 7.5.
I was like 7.5. Yeah. If you're getting that line, good, head over to BetMGM and attack that line with passion. Right. So initially 5.5, 43.5. Any initial thoughts on your end?
I get it, because you can only predicate this on perception, and there's enough things that you think are confirmed for Tennessee, right? Not only being a home game, by the way, we know the line, right, gets a little 3-point shift there based on being home or away. So neutral site, we're only talking about a 2.5-point dog for the New York Football Giants. Again, you know things about the Tennessee Titans. You know what Derrick Henry is. You know what Ryan Tannehill is. You know what Vrabel and this coaching staff has been, right? So there's a lot of things that you can confirm there. I think if this matchup was 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now, and you just get some, let's say on the positive side, Kadarius Toney looks strong, right? Daniel Jones looks consistent. Saquon Barkley is back in form, right? I think that this line gets a lot closer to even money than the Giants being a dog going into it. So I'm fine with it. I mean, if it's me and you want to take the -110 and +5.5, I go for it, because we'll get into predictions later here, but I think it is going to be a close game, weather included. And I think the way both teams, right, some mild conservative play, especially from Tennessee's side. And then it kind of comes down to, are the Giants willing to grip it and rip it week one?
It may sound like a homer pick, but for purely betting purposes, taking the Giants money line is a better bet than taking the 5.5 this week. And the reason why is because the unknown system and scheme of Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka is a huge question mark that you can get 2-1 on your money if it ends up hitting, right? Like the 5.5, if it's not working and Daniel Jones doesn't look good and the Giants aren't moving the ball, chances are they're probably going to just lose the game outright by double digits, right? But if they're able to move the ball, short passes, Daniel Jones looks better out in space, the offensive line's competent, they're going to be in the game with a chance to win it. So for me, if you're going to take a bet, I believe that there's a better chance the Giants win it outright than that 5 points coming into play, Adam.
Yeah, I'm down with that for sure. But 5.5, man, like, it's a touchdown, right? So if you're playing the money line, you're going for. I get it, and I know that plus being plus on it versus minus taking the points. Let me just you just pointed out here in the chat. I think I kind of like the way that our Friday shows are going to kind of progress here, because Abram shot up here and you quickly grabbed it. What is the carries target for Saquon Barkley? We can talk about both from a betting standpoint and also just from a game standpoint too.
Yeah, so this is a great question because everyone's wondering what's going to happen. We talked a little bit before about the Titans giving up the least amount of rushing yards per game. They were 6th in rushing yards per attempt at 3.9, 3.8, something like that. They are stingy in the run game. Couple that with the fact that the Giants don't want to just run Saquon Barkley up the middle and get him between the tackles and take the pounding and the wear and tear that's going to have on his body. My pick of the week is going to be other Saquon related. Look for him to get more catches out of the backfield, get him out in space one-on-one with some short out routes and different wheel routes and things to get lined up against a nickel corner or a linebacker. But to me, I think the target for Saquon, and I know this may sound low, but I would say anywhere from like 5 to 7 carries is probably where I project Saquon to be. I don't see him getting more than 10 carries unless they're kind of like pitching it to him, getting him out on the edge.
Really? No more than 10 carries?
Yeah.
Man. Like, I get it. Like, I'm not like, I like the overall perception of it. This is something I wonder about for the season as a whole, is whether or not, like when we talk about, again, we said we had to talk about this earlier in the week, like, are you grinding Saquon to the ground? Is he 100% healthy, ready to go? Like, if it's, you said no more than 10. Let's say that it's 7 carries for Saquon. Okay, so how many targets are you saying he's going to get in the passing game?
Oh, I think he's going to get a lot in the passing game. I
So
think,
are you, so, okay. What is your total touch number for Saquon Barkley? Because I think it needs to be 20 plus.
Oh, so I think it's going to be about 15 to 17 touches in this game.
That's
I
not
think,
enough. To me, there's no way that can be enough.
but the thing is, Adam, with
Oh,
all the
what's the
different,
thing?
well, because we don't know how this offense wants to focus. If you look at how things went in Buffalo, they spread the ball all over the place. Obviously, they had Stephon Diggs. They used multiple running backs because obviously they didn't have someone like Saquon Barkley. But the idea is Antonio Williams looked good. Matt Breida is on this roster. Gary Brightwell is here. There are going to be other guys getting touches. Let Antonio Williams run it up the gut. Let Gary Brightwell take some of the pounding on the inside. I don't see that as the best way to utilize Saquon Barkley. So you may say, well, 15 to 17 touches doesn't feel good. If they're meaningful touches, not the run to the right, gain 3 yards, power eye, like none of that will make sense to use Saquon Barkley. If he's getting 10 targets in the receiving game for 7 or 8 catches out of the backfield, which is what I think is the way they want to use him, that's where I see Saquon Barkley breaking off the big play and getting chunky gains for the Giants.
Sure. Okay. And where did you say you had the over under was what, 43 and a half?
43 and a half. Yep.
What do you, I mean, weather included here, do you think that when we talk about the Giants missing some defensive weapons, whatever is going to happen here on that side of the ball, I mean, 21-17 keeps you underneath it, but that's a razor thin line. Do you think it's more likely this goes without, we won't go over predictions just yet, but you think it's more likely that it goes in the vein of 27-24 or 21-17? Where's that margin for you?
I mean, that's the tough part because it's the difference between one turnover or one touchdown instead of a field goal.
Yep.
I mean, we're going to get into our predictions. I have it right around that number. Like 43 and a half isn't a crazy number in today's NFL. Obviously the Titans have struggled moving the ball or have question marks moving the ball through the air. As you mentioned, Locked On Titans detailed that beautifully. The Giants also have their problems too. Remember, this is a team that averaged 15 points a game last year. We're assuming that they're going to be a touchdown better, but will they really? We need to see it in practicality on the road against the top 5 total team defense in the league.
Yep, for sure. Okay. What is your most exciting matchup here? Like what's the one guy that you're looking for? And then we'll turn over to our predictions, but also a couple of key bet plays here though. I mean, is it just, we can go high level, generic, nothing too sexy about saying I want to see Daniel Jones look consistent, look comfortable. I'll start it off here. There's a lot of things I would go to, but I'll take the Daniel Jones one because I'm sure you have a more interesting angle. I want to see a Daniel Jones, and this is something I didn't talk about. I said I wanted to. 3 weeks, 3 games is what I give this team and Daniel Jones and everyone involved before I am going to develop a concrete opinion around where this team is, where the players are, and it's going to no one more critical than Daniel Jones. But I want to see a Daniel Jones inside of this offensive system that goes for it, right? Last year, a lot of the fans, and rightfully so, talk about how, well, with Jason Garrett, and everything happening in front of him, you ended up just reining it in. Go for it, man. I'd rather you throw 2 touchdowns and a pick than 1 touchdown, no interceptions. I'd rather you have 260 yards with maybe a turnover than have 205, right? Like if you're going to learn something about this kid and about this team, you have to let him go and play. So that I'm going to call that. That's what I want to see in this opening game for Daniel Jones. Look loose, look comfortable, and have Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka say, yeah, for better or worse, we're going to let you go play and get that real sample size and get those real results.
So I do like that. They need to be more aggressive. They need to push the ball vertically. We talked about Jason Garrett's offense being so vanilla, lowest yards per attempt basically in the entire league. Very one-dimensional, the highest first down run percentage that led to the highest second down pass percentage. It was like every single thing was already known. Like they're going to stop the run on first down. You're going to get sacked on second down. And then third down, you're going to do a QB sneak and punt, right? Like that was pretty much how we knew things we're going to go.
And second down, we're just going to punt. The hell.
Yeah, we're just going to punt early. We're going to play the field game. We're going to hope our defense.
Bit of a strategy here, Bob. They're going to punt on first down.
Bold strategy, Cotton. Yeah, bold strategy, Cotton. So for me, where I go to is really it's very similar, but it's in the wide receiving core, and it's Kadarius Toney. Yep. He is such an enigma for Giant fans and for the entire league. You saw his skill set out there against teams like the Dallas Cowboys, where like he's guardable. Like, he leaves people in the dust. His shiftiness, his ability to have vision and play chess with early movement is unbelievable. The problem is we haven't seen it often enough because he's been injured. He's been out of the lineup. He hasn't been in training camp. He didn't play in any of the preseason games. We really don't know what we're going to see from Kadarius Toney. But, Adam, the two cornerbacks that are starting for the Tennessee Titans are very young and inexperienced. You have Roger McCreary, was a second-round pick this year, has never played an NFL game. He will presumably be guarding Kadarius Toney. So you have Kadarius Toney against a rookie that's never played before. I like that matchup. Even if they decide to use their veteran, who's Christian Fulton, who was drafted in 2020 and has had a handful of games. Like, at that point, Adam, we're only talking about a handful of games. Even if they switch him over, I still like the matchup for Kadarius Toney. So for me, he's the guy that all Giant fans know that there's a way to unlock some crazy potential. If he stays healthy and you get him the ball out in space, he is going to be one of the more electric players in the entire league. This is a great matchup for him against inexperienced quarterbacks. So Daniel Jones has to get the ball out quickly and get it into his hands.
Yeah, we talk about volume. I think Kadarius Toney needs to be a guy that gets volume, right? You talk about total touches for Saquon Barkley. I want to see 10 touches for Kadarius Toney. That's not targets. I want to see 10 touches. You can do some end arounds. You can, get him to space. You can run a couple of bubble screens. Like, I think early and often you want to maximize that. And I'll say too, you talk about the inexperience on the outside for the secondary here for the New York football, for the Tennessee Titans. You do have to consider the idea. It's going to be very intriguing. This is high level, low level. What is Wan'Dale Robinson? He's listed as the starter on the depth chart here. So we always talk about who stands to benefit. Kenny Golladay being consistent and just being someone that has to be respected out there. That can open things up, the trickle-down effect. And, it goes to Wan'Dale Robinson. It goes to the other rookie at the tight end position, Daniel Bellinger, right? Going to be fascinating to see how things unfold here for the Giants. And again, how this offense develops in this first game and then also as the season moves along. That being the case, though, Andy, we know what we want to move into here. Before we close out with our predictions, we need to this is Andrew Makowitz bet of the week.
Oh, yeah. And I feel really good about this one.
I'll get some graphics for that one, I think.
This is, you know what, we're gonna build into this. We have exciting, we have exciting announcements coming up for next week's show in terms of betting in the format that we're gonna do. So we'll unveil the fun graphics when that happens. But the bet of the week, we just talked about Saquon Barkley. You were shocked about the numbers that I was talking about, Adam. The best bet of the week is Saquon Barkley over receiving yards. And you may say, okay, well, that's interesting, but what is it? So, Adam, if you had to guess, what is the over-under on Saquon Barkley receiving yards in this game against the Titans?
55.
It's exactly half of that at 27 and a half.
Sorry, I gave you I threw out a very quick number. That's his rushing yards. So what is it? It's at 25?
27 and a half. And you may say, like, okay, that he's a running back out of the backfield. Let me just tell you, in the 3 preseason games so far, seeing how the Giants like to do their offense, whoever has started at running back for them, obviously, Saquon got a couple touches in the first one, but the primary running back in each of the games had over 5 receptions and cleared 28 receiving yards in every single one of the preseason games. They are going to focus on getting the ball out in space to their running back. And of course, we only saw Saquon Barkley for a handful of plays in the preseason because they want to keep him fresh. Mm-hmm. I anticipate that's why I think his carries are going to be lower. I would almost think that he may have more targets in the passing game than he will have rushes in this game. So for me, if you figure Saquon's going to catch 5 or 6 balls, all we need is 5 or 6 yards per attempt for him. You got to figure he's going to take one for 10 to 15 yards. Right there, you got 30 to 35 yards alone. I love that wager, and I love it for Saquon because it shows that he's going to be back.
Let's get me up in the center square here, friends. That's a nice one. We want to have some fun. How many legs are on a spider, Andy?
8.
Yeah, chop one of them off. And we got a 7-way same game parlay.
Oh, here we go.
Now listen to me though. Hey, listen to me rattle off. I'll boom, 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 boom. And by the way, I got Saquon, and over on BetMGM, you can get that at 26.5 for the over under on receiving yards. When I drop down, you tell me when you get disgusted with one of these. Ryan Tannehill over half an interception. So Ryan Tannehill to throw a pick. Okay, right? Nothing. You can see that happening. 55.5 yards for Saquon rushing. You tell me this kid can't have one big hit? You can't get 125-yard run and then sprinkle some in. Maybe you want to call that the risky play.
It flies in the face. It flies in the face of what I like. But go on.
All right, you know what? And watch what I'll do here. I'll take that one out. I want to let Andy have me take out one play out of my parlay. Okay, so let's drop that one out. We took off another leg from that spider. Graham Gano over 1.5 field goals. 2 field goals in the game.
Okay, I'm in.
There's nothing to scoff at. Daniel Jones over 1/2 of an interception. I want the kid to play. I want him to go for it. I'll accept that turnover. Spread, New York Giants plus the 5.5, and Saquon Barkley over the 26.5 receiving yards. I took out the rushing total for him. And the last one here, the one that is really a plus number, I think plus 225, that's going to be Kadarius Toney to score a touchdown. You just talked about how he needs to be a focal point, needs to be in on the action. What do you think? What do you think the odds are? Where were the numbers? I just want to throw down a crisp $5 bill on this bet. What do you think we're looking at here?
I'm going to say it's 15-1, Adam.
We got plus 9,000. You throw down 5, a crisp $5 bill. You're coming back with over $450 in return. I'm just saying it. Join me on the journey. It's always fun, my friends. Tannenhill over on his interceptions. Gano over on the field goals. Toney to score. Daniel Jones to throw a pick. The spread for the Giants and Saquon Barkley over 26.5 receiving yards. Night. We gonna fight.
Wow. That was tremendous. I'll give you credit. You pivoted right in the middle of things and got it to my sweet spot. I like it. Because you like that bet so much, though, let's go into the predictions for the game. First one of the season, because we don't count Thursday night, not part of the pick'em. No one ever thinks about the Thursday night game, especially if you lose it in terrible fashion like I did.
Yep.
So, Adam.
Ladies first.
Giants versus Titans. 4:25 p.m. game in Nashville. What is your prediction on the game?
You don't want it? You don't want first crack at the apple?
No. By all means. Take me away.
It's really intriguing, man. I think that the Giants have a long journey this season, and I don't know if there's going to be a lot of wins for them. But I also don't know if the Tennessee Titans are a 12-win team or if they are a team that had some easy wins last year that overcame losing some players, etc. Man, like I could coin flip this thing and say that the Giants come out and they may only win 6 games this year, but this could be one of those really really early impressive wins. They come out, they get rolling. I'm going to take the Giants to win. So if you want to take, I'm taking the Giants and I'm taking the points. I believe that they'll get there. I won't be shocked if they pull this one out. I think it's going to be within a field goal most of the way. I don't think necessarily anyone's getting away from one another here. And it's just going to come down to, as we've talked about, some of those key turnovers. If the Giants defense can catch one of those, I think the Giants will need to score. I think they'll be capable of scoring. I'm taking the points. But if you wanted a score prediction, I'll even go as bold to say the Giants win outright. Give me the Giants 27-23.
Wow. That is a bold prediction.
And I don't think the Giants are living up to the hype on, almost 30 points a game all throughout the year. But I think there's some opportunities here. We talked about Bud Dupree not being available. He's in there for them. They're missing one of their key defensive players. Very suspect secondary. I think that's a matchup to exploit Giants wide receivers against the specifically cornerbacks. Don't go to the safeties.
So I'm going to go in a little bit of a different direction. I think
Gareth's with me 27-17. Oh, Titans. Come on now, Gareth.
Yeah, but people are betting, moving away from you, even though this is a pro Giant podcast. Everyone's a realist. I know you're the eternal optimist, Adam, when it comes to the Giants winning. My prediction is the Titans are going to be able to move the ball on the ground. And when we have to bring people in the box, we don't have the edge rushers available to be able to take advantage of Ryan Tannehill and some of the new wide receivers that are out there. I think the Titans are going to be able to move the ball. Wink Martindale is going to bring a ton of pressure, but that pressure is going to lead to big plays. I think the Giants will look effective moving the ball, or more effective than they have previously. I think that it's going to be a little bit of a higher scoring game with the Giants offense. We're so conditioned to the Giants only scoring 14 points that like you always think the under is good. Sure. I'm going to go in a tough matchup. On the road, week 1, I got the Tennessee Titans 27, the Giants 20.
Okay. Yeah, so it's slow and steady here. I got to be honest with you, man. You're not even giving them – you talked about it all off season. You don't believe that they're going to move the needle on scoring more than what they averaged last year, right? Like 15 points with Daniel Jones in there at quarterback. You're saying all the changes, all the new coaching, all the new scheming, it's worth 2 points.
No, I said 27-20, which is worth 5 points. And it's against the top 5 defense, which is against the top 5 defense too. I think it's more predicated on going against the Titans in Tennessee against
top 5
really
defense
good
on paper. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. That's why they play the games, Adam.
Hey, that's why they do it, friends. Listen, we may come in and talk about some things on Sunday morning. Not likely, though, because this should be the format. We give you everything. Get your bets in. Get your excitement up there. And by the way, in the chat, we appreciate everyone obviously being in on the live YouTube stream. We've got Gareth saying 27-17 Titans. Marty, frequent flyer, 20-17. There's the line I was talking about for the Titans. How about, though, Michael wants a 23-10 Giants. So he's big, bold, and I love getting into it right there. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be a fun matchup. Again, week 1 kicks off. We talked about it Thursday night. The Rams, that's not who the Rams are, right? But that's what the first game of their season just looked like. For the Giants, too, it's like the Titans. Hey, that might not be who they are long-term. It doesn't mean they can't lay a goose egg. Like maybe just, why not? For the sake of the podcast. Kick things off with a bit of a surprise, with a bit of a win on the road, and then let's get it going from there. Always want to start off a new regime on a very positive foot. It's big for Dable. It's big for Kafka. It's big for Joe Shane. It's big for John Mara, right? It's big for all the Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, Kadarius Toney, all the guys that have been there for this, right? That have not had that taste of success and winning and optimism as you get a season underway. Let's hope for the best here on Sunday, 4:25 kickoff. We'll come in on the post-game recap as well. You get that podcast feed. You break it all down. Marty, you don't hope that I'm right. You know that I'm right. You like it. You love it. You want more of it. And as Andrew Mack, I'm jacked up, guys, on a Friday, would want, need, and they demand the people know.
As always, especially today, let's go Big Blue.
Woo!